is a production of OpsLens.com. OpsLens only hires former members of the intelligence, law enforcement, and military communities. No OpsLens personnel are actively using their security clearances or working in a government capacity.
Welcome to the Hooch, where the only place more messed up than your hosts is the barracks on a Friday night or the VA. So get ready to stand by for your weekly dose of toilet humor and shenanigans from your fellow veterans, Coy Mack and Michael Grizzled Grunt Harris.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Hooch. I'm Coy Mack.
I'm Michael Harris.
And today we're going to be talking about HBO not being able to keep a hold of their episodes and keep them to themselves, and Antifa and the end of the world. What would happen if Antifa and the rest of these asshole groups were facing The Walking Dead?
Well, they'd probably eat their own, because that's what they're doing.
Sure. Like, I would think it would go Terminus scenario with that, and they would just, you know, invite everybody in with their like sweet talks and, you know, I promise you I'll give you everything in the world. Just come with us. We'll take care of you. And then they end up to be, you know, murderous zombie eating assholes. So the first topic we wanted to talk about with the HBO and the Sony hacks. I know my fellow co-host, you know, Michael here has had some issues recently. Why don't you tell our listeners about that?
Yeah, so the other night I was trying to order the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight, and for some reason my card wouldn't work. So I thought it was just a fluke, you know, it didn't show on my little online app that my card was down. So I went to work the next day, had to go to the gas station to get gas, card was declined. So I ended up calling the bank and they told me, yes, through the PlayStation Network, your card was compromised, and it was $175 worth of purchases made on your card.
And they just like, oh yeah, we're letting you know now, instead of like letting you know like earlier on in the week. How long had the card been like actually canceled before you found out?
It was Friday night from what they said. They canceled it. So Saturday afternoon around, 1500, I was at the gas station, and come to find out that they canceled my card without telling me. So I asked the lady, I was like, okay, so what am I supposed to do between Saturday and Monday before I can get a temporary? She goes, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, sir.
I don't know. It's not my problem. So you're just going to have to figure it out. Can you get cash? I don't know. Like, I have to go to the bank to do that and everything's closed. Oh, that sucks. You have an ATM card? That was my ATM card, asshole.
Yeah. So,
kind of situation.
Luckily, my wife's car, because my truck was running on fumes at that time. So I got all the way home. I got home, and luckily my wife's car had some gas in it. And by the time I got to work and back, it was running on fumes. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do if the zombie apocalypse happened? I'm screwed right now.
Right. Yeah. Like, I'm out of gas. I have nothing on me. I can't pay for anything.
You're going nowhere.
Yeah. You're going nowhere fast. And that's kind of the thing that we've had over the last like month, especially with HBO. I know you're not an avid Game of Thrones, watcher as I am, which shame on you for that. You should watch more.
Yeah, everyone's watching it. I'm not that trendy.
Be trendy. Watch it. So the problem is, especially last week, what happened is they accidentally released the Game of Thrones episode. Like, accidentally on their own. One of their third parties, like, this is kind of the big issues, like one of their third party representatives released the show an hour early, but it was long enough for them, the torrent sites, the hackers, everybody else to be able to get it and watch it. And everybody's wanting it. It's like, as soon as you release a Game of Thrones episode, like, everybody on the internet's jumping on that. Like, there's no way to keep it out. Like, if they can get the full episode right then, it's going out everywhere.
Yeah,
that's how.
Didn't they offer a ransom or something?
Yeah, they did. Like, it was $6.5 million in Bitcoins is what they wanted, or else they were going to release the final episode of Game of Thrones. I'm kind of on the fence of that, because as a filmmaker myself and, an entertainer, it's like, why? It's like, no, don't do that. No, oh God, no, why? But then as a fan of Game of Thrones, I'm like, yes, for the love of God, do that. my evil side is coming out, and I'm just like, yes, please release Game of Thrones right now so I can watch all of it.
I mean, if I was the guys at HBO, I'd call their bluff. I'd be like, you know what? We're going to release it ourselves as a promo.
Yeah.
Thank
right,
you.
Exactly. Like that's what I would say. It's like that's the only way to handle blackmailers. Just like, no, screw you. We're gonna do it ourselves, and you can't get no money from us. Like that's what they should be doing.
I mean, and they make billions of dollars off that show. If they just did that, I mean, they would shut these hackers down. But then it becomes one of those things. Okay, what if they kept hacking into the system, and every single episode they was like, give us a ransom or else, and they'd be constantly, releasing these.
They would keep having to do it because that's how
and keep happening.
Yeah, that's how blackmailers work. You once you give them money, it's never going to stop. It never stops. And so like the hacker group, there was also another hacker group, Our Mine, hijacked HBO's Twitter account, along with some of the other shows. And they basically said that, hey, we got a control of your account. Let us know how you want to deal with it. Like they didn't do anything too malicious with it, but it was still the same that, we can help you with your security. It's like this white hat hacking is what they call it.
I mean, what type of IT guys does HBO have working for them? For them not even, you know what I mean? And what are we paying you for? How does this happen?
That's a good question. It's like, wow, I bet their IT department's like, sorry guys, that was on us. My bad. Or maybe they had like a whole string of passwords like written down somewhere, and somebody just picked it up and said, hey, I know somebody that would love this.
Yes, I believe it's some insider stuff, man. Asking for that much money in Bitcoins, that's got to be an insider deal.
Well, a lot of these things had happened as insider, incidents of them just literally taking the stuff out of the building and sending it off like that. That's kind of what happened on a few of these incidences. There's a quote from Robert Ford. He's a chief scientist at a security software company, Forcepoint. They have some supply chain issues. They have malicious insiders, and they have accidental insiders that have accounts that are compromised. And I think he's right with that. Is a lot of these, especially these bigger companies like HBO, is like people want the information that they have, and they're willing to do anything for it, and they're willing to pay for it. Yeah. And it's like, how much is HBO wanting to pay them for this money, or if they actually do or don't? That's just the big issue today. Is this cyber security threat is a real thing, and it's becoming a bigger thing.
Yeah,
like with, for instance.
I mean, you just got some kid sitting in his freaking basement that gets a kick out of this stuff, and then I thank Bank of America for freezing my account, because that'll really suck. Someone taking all your money and buying all types of stuff on PlayStation, having a nerd orgasm as he's downloading all these video games with my money. So kudos to Bank of America, but screw Bank of America for not telling me.
Right. Or at least like sending you another card like automatically. It's like, yeah, we shut that one off and we're sending you one right now.
Yeah,
like, so
do the
you
right
can
thing.
buy stuff. Like that would have been nice of them, but they didn't do that.
I mean, for the first time in a long time, I felt like broke. I was just like, this doesn't feel good at all. At all. I don't like this.
Do you remember what it's like to be broke? How long ago was that, when you were like little old PSC, little private?
Oh, after my divorce, my first divorce, I had some broke times, as every married man goes through. You lose everything, house, kids.
I mean, every divorced man goes through.
Every divorced man goes through, and married men, but every divorced man goes through. So at some point there's that time where you're like, man, I'm broke. But, you catch back up, you get your finances right. So it's been a while where I felt hopeless. That's crazy how much money, has control of your life like that. Just that little bit of time I didn't have any access to my money, immediate access. It really, pissed me off.
Because everything's digital now, like that's what's going to happen. As long as we're living in the digital age, as long as we're, working for imaginary money, because that's exactly what it is. Like, let's not pretend it's anything different. It's imaginary money. People are going to want it. The same thing with credit card information. Everybody's paying for it. You think that you're secure, but you're not. Like, there are tons of websites, not even on the dark web, but just like on the regular web, that you can buy somebody's credit card information for a couple of bucks.
Yep.
Right. And use it. Obviously, it's illegal. Don't do that. Not advocating for it.
Please don't
putting
do
that out there. Please don't do that. Don't blame us. But that's what it is. Like, private information is getting stolen everywhere. You know, Sony is one of the biggest examples of that, where, you know, 2.5 million accounts were hacked. You know, and yours being one of them.
Yep. And that wasn't the first time that happened. You know, there was a big hack a couple years ago with Sony too. And they emailed everybody on the network. There's like, hey, our information was compromised. Your information may be one of the names that were compromised. And lo and behold, my information was one of the names compromised. I'm like, really? My name is so freaking common though. Like
Michael Harris. Yeah. I actually I saw another Michael Harris recently. So that's actually kind of funny.
Yeah. Very common name.
And it's funny because once a place gets hacked, right? One of these bigger companies like, you know, Amazon and HBO and Sony, they get hit a lot more, because once one hacker does it, they know they're vulnerable, and then everybody jumps on the bandwagon and they start stealing information. Like for the 2014 hack, they suffered 20 breaches within 2 months.
Wow.
Just because they got hit once. So once you get hit, you're down. Like there's no getting back up from that until you close out the breach.
I mean, I put hackers on the same level as like murderers. That's the lowest of the low right there. You're stealing. You don't know someone's financial situation.
That's true.
You're going in there, you know, stealing from them. And of course, they never take all your money. They take bits and pieces from everyone's account, because if they took it all, they can trace that really quick. So they'll take a couple dollars here from this account, a couple hundred here from this account, and that adds up to a lot of money. I remember one time my card was hacked, and it was in Ireland at a train station.
Oh, really?
I was like how does that even happen?
They probably hit you with a credit card skimmer.
Something. It was like at a train station. They bought some train tickets with my card.
Who buys train tickets with the card? Like somebody else's card? That's kind of the weird thing. Like, I don't like, that's like me going into a gas station and buying a pack of gum
with somebody else's card.
With somebody else's card. Like, that would be the weirdest thing, like weirdest purchase. No, that wouldn't be the weirdest purchase. I think it would be like going to a string of adult stores and buying random things,
buying a bunch of liberators, and, you know, selling them on eBay.
Right.
You buy them
like under your name, under your assumed name.
Big black ding dongs and crazy stuff like that.
Unless they're like, you know, immature teenagers, and they could always just order like 20,000 pizzas and sent to your house. Like, that would be really messed up.
That would, and I'd be really pissed off.
Could you imagine that? Like having 20,000 pizzas show up at your house? Yeah. Okay, let's just say 200. Like 200 pizzas would be a ridiculous amount of pizza to show up at your house.
Exactly.
It's like, are you having like a, you know, ginormous party here? No, like, where are all these coming from? Well, you're ordering them, your name, your card, like your address, your phone number. I didn't order any of these.
No, I didn't. I would actually have to hunt that person down that did that.
Right, make him eat all the pizzas, you know, like, do like the old school way of like catching somebody smoking cigarettes. You got to eat all of these.
Yep.
Get smoke all of them.
I will find you. I will finish you. You know,
I have a particular set of skills. I can make fat kids eat cake.
Exactly.
It just goes to a larger lesson, I think, with these hacks, is the OPSEC side of it. You know, coming from, you know, both of us in the military, we understand that operational security is the most important thing in today's world, especially in the cyber world. Like, it is the most important thing. And I think a lot of, you know, military members just aren't getting it. Like, they forget how insecure Facebook is.
Yeah, and a lot of people are really bad at updating all their security programs and the malware programs on their computers. I'm really bad at that. And that's a key right there. If you're not updating those programs to keep all that malware and that spyware and all that other stuff out your computer, you might as well leave your front door open.
Right. And I'm bad about it too. Like, I'll admit, not a hypocrite here. Like, it's a little hypocritical for me to say, it's like, yeah, you should totally be more secure, but then not be secure.
Yeah,
definitely doing that on my end. But at the same time, you know, like, have you ever gotten the friends requests from like the ISIS bait?
Yep. Not today, ISIS.
Not today, ISIS. Or it's some it's either that or it's some Chinese guy like sitting. Could you imagine that guy's work? Like the Chinese dude that's sitting in some like office building right now in China, that he signed up for the military, right? He goes into service, and then all he does all day is sit on Facebook and try to get information from military members overseas by catfishing.
Yep.
That's literally his job. All day he's sitting there catfishing.
And you have actual useful idiots that fall for that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I don't know which is worse, the guy that has to sit there doing the catfishing or the person that gets catfished.
I think it's the person that gets catfished.
Oh God, you're so pretty. Why don't you where are you stationed at? How many people are there? What do you know about machine guns?
Takes a picture of a weapon and says, "What type of weapon is this?
How many rounds can it shoot?"
The guy's just sitting there eating it up.
Right? It's just a lesson that I think we should definitely learn, especially today, is that the internet's not safe. We obviously know it's not safe, but we need to take more strides and steps to not fall for dumb things like this, and that we should be more on top of our game when it comes to cybersecurity and doing hacking back to these people.
And it doesn't just stop with our computers, man. Everybody knows we walk around with a computer in our pocket. So they have these, same thing. We put all our information on our cell phone now. So they get these robocalls that call you, and if you answer it, I don't know how they do it. They can get all your information just by answering that phone call.
Which that's nuts. I mean, the same around time as the Sony hacks, you had the celebrity hacks that happened in the iCloud thing, and they stole all of their personal photos and then released it to everybody. Like that could happen to you. Like if it did happen to you, like what would you do about it? There's not much us people that don't understand that world we could do about it. We're just kind of like hapless victims in this.
Now I would thank them for some of those iCloud things like Jennifer Lawrence. Thank you. When you leaked those, everybody wanted to see Jennifer Lawrence titties, and these guys
they did. Yeah, they did. But we cannot. Okay, we have to say that we cannot condone the actions of these individuals
at all.
We think that it's wrong. It is absolutely wrong. As much as we all thought of that, you shouldn't do that. Let's just be clear about that.
Yes.
You shouldn't hack people's personal information.
It's kind of a big move.
Yeah, don't hack people's personal information. All right, moving on. We got a bunch of movies coming out later this year. Some that I'm really excited about. You got Blade Runner coming out. You got Thor Ragnarok, Justice League, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. Like, Blade Runner is coming out in October on the 6th, Ragnarok on November 3rd, then followed by Justice League on the 17th of November, and then Star Wars finally to cap out the year on December 15th. At least they're not doing it at like the Christmas Day release like they did the last Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Like, I remember going to that. It was cold. Yeah, even in Texas, it was cold.
I went the same time. I went opening night downtown at the Children's Museum. We watched it in IMAX.
I wish I would have saw it on my IMAX. I saw it in, I think it was one of the Alamos. No, it wasn't an Alamo. It was another one. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, but yeah, like it was great. Like I loved having a new Star Wars out to be able to see. Like the little kid in me was just giddy about it, and it was good. And then later people were like, well, J.J. Abrams did his best, but all he really did was reboot the series. it was a New Hope all over again.
But it was great to see those old characters in this new version of Star Wars. Yeah. When you saw, Han Solo, you saw Princess Leia, when Chewbacca, they all showed their faces and everybody was just like a nerdgasm.
Oh yeah, no, like being in the theater when the epic Star Wars sound actually hit and everybody's just jumping up and cheering and like, hollering. It was great. Like nobody else, like no other movie gets that much attention. Not even the Avengers, right? Not any of the DC movies, not like any Marvel or DC movies get the same amount of attention that Star Wars does and love. Like not even Star Trek. I mean, come on, be honest.
Yeah.
Like, even with the Star Trekkies, like no, nobody gives you that much attention.
And nobody really cares about Star Trek. I'm not a Trekkie. So.
I'm not a Trekkie. I enjoy watching the movies. Like even some of the older ones, like I enjoyed it. But, I don't have the same amount of passion as I do for Star Wars. Like that's just it. Like that and the games are freaking awesome.
And I'm really curious about this next one, man. Because you have Rey. People are wondering what she is. And my theory is she's going to be a Grey. But I think a lot of people
obviously she's going to be a Grey Jedi.
She's going to be a Grey Jedi.
The bigger question is who's the daddy? Like we're playing a round of who's your daddy.
I don't think she has a father.
Well, that's the newest theory right now. Is like they're saying she's like the next Anakin Skywalker. Like she doesn't have a daddy, right? Just magically came into being is what happened.
Well, Anakin was born through a virgin who didn't know the father. I don't think she knew who the father was either.
Right. But there's actually another theory about that too.
I think Rey, from another theory I read, that she's the reincarnation of the very first Jedi.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I haven't heard that one before.
So she's reincarnated. That's why she's so powerful.
Reincarnated Jedi. Like, is that a thing? I didn't even know that was a thing.
I think Jedis can reincarnate themselves once they become part of the Force.
Once they're part of the Force. I think it's either Obi-Wan Kenobi or it is actual, Luke Skywalker. Like that's where we're going in that realm of thing. It's one of those two. Like, I think that's what happened.
Well, Luke actually did have 2 kids. I think he had twins. Because
if you're talking about the extended universe, and
yes.
that doesn't apply anymore.
Oh, okay.
Like Disney came in and said, no, all of these, when they took over the franchise, they went basically all of these things that happened in the books and before that everybody loved never happened. They're non-canon, right? Here are the official things that are canon now. Like they basically just took the board and then wiped it clean and said, this is what is canon and this is what is not canon. They're called, I think they're called Legends now. Like they're Star Wars Legends.
Oh, okay.
Or like something like that. So yeah, that's kind of where they went with it. But besides that, we've got Justice League coming out, which I'm excited about. I know you are, both DC fans. What is the most exciting thing about the Justice League for you coming out that you want to see?
I think, the best part about this movie is that we're getting all these DC characters that we haven't really seen in a movie together. The Flash, he's a big fan favorite of everyone. Cyborg, he's okay, but it'd be cool to see him on screen doing his thing. And of course, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman are working together again. And I'm very interested to I know they're going to bring someone else in. I'm very curious to find out who they're bringing in.
Right. And I like how they're breaking away from the formula, especially that's been around right now for, superhero films, is that once we have to establish the character first, then do the group movie.
Yeah.
But basically Warner Brothers and DC said, no, we're just going to do the Justice League. We're not going to have to establish the Flash. We're not going to establish Aquaman. Or Cyborg, like we're just going to do the movie like that. And that's cool. Like I'm glad, but we're going to get those other movies too, just not right away.
Yeah.
But they're also being plagued with a lot of problems with, especially the Batman film. Like that's had a lot of problems recently. They've been going back and forth with directors. And then I think we might be losing Batfleck.
At first when he was saying that he was going to play as Batman, everybody was like, what? Ben Affleck, get out of here. But actually, I think he did a really good job.
I was actually surprised. I admit I was surprised. I thought, oh, God, he's going to ruin Batman forever.
Because he has that stupid face, and you're just like, you're going to ruin the movie for me. But actually,
at least it's not Matt Damon.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't bring Matt Damon in as Robin. I'm not going to go to that Matt's in the movie with me.
Okay. Ben Affleck, if you're listening, I doubt you will ever listen to the show. But if you are, do that just for shits and giggles, please.
Do it.
Have you and him run around in classic 50s Batman and Robin, please. Batman. That would be great. I would love that. That would be funny.
And the one thing, the way I like how they have the way they have this Batman is more to me, the Injustice type of Batman. In the older Batman movies, he didn't really use a lot of his gadgets. You know what I mean? He relied more on his fighting. He relied a lot on the Batmobile, and every once in a while the Batwing. But in these newer movies, he relies a lot on his wits and his gadgets. I mean, if you look at, Batman versus Superman, remember when he went to go save Superman's mom?
Right.
And he came out the floor and he threw all those, what are those things called? When he throws them on the weapons and it kind of kills the weapons.
I don't know, almost like an EMP pulse. Almost.
Yeah, it's almost like he threw it on the weapons and they couldn't do anything, and he hit a button and they all boom, 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 blew them all up. And he just used so much agility. That's what I like about these.
That scene was actually pretty awesome. I know they played it a lot in the trailers before they actually released it, but it was pretty sick. I'll admit. As much as I disliked, the idea of Ben Affleck playing Batman, and he did a tremendous job at playing this character, and he was a darker character. I like the fact that they draw, they drew a lot from the Dark Knight comics.
Yes.
In order to portray this Batman, which I loved. Which was really great. The only other Batman I would really like to see is the Flashpoint Batman with, Bruce Wayne's father being Batman, who's this drunken, angry guy.
Evil guy. Matter of fact, I just watched Flashpoint yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's great. I love that one.
Yeah. So we'll see where this goes. And when it comes to Superman, I mean, everyone has their theory on that. So...
I mean, I know what's gonna if they follow the comics and some of the animated movies, I know exactly where it's going. Obviously, but I'm not gonna spoil it for anyone unless I say spoilers, and then I just say that he's alive.
Yeah, I mean, we all know he's alive.
He's alive, obviously.
Yeah, we all know. I mean, if you follow the comic book, Superman comes back. We all know he's hibernating. He's healing. So we all know he's gonna come back.
Right, he's alive. Don't worry. But I'm really excited about the new Blade Runner as well, and seeing the trailers for it are amazing. Roger Deakins, the cinematographer for Blade Runner, is one of my favorites, of all times. Emmanuel Lubezki is my second, my first favorite, and then Roger's my second. But those two guys can make any movie look amazing.
And the good thing about it, I like the fact that they brought Harrison Ford back.
Yeah, I like when they can blend the two timelines together. It's just 20 years later. They're literally taking it 20 years later, which is awesome.
I think it's going to be really good. Well, let's hope it's going to be really good.
And I do too. It would be a very bad disappointment. It's it looks pretty, but it was just kind of it fell flat in terms of plot and acting, which I don't think. I mean, Ryan Gosling's a good actor. I couldn't see him, messing that movie up. And I really don't. And
I don't think Harrison Ford would allow that movie, even for him to be in the movie, to have
that's his legacy, man.
A sorry storyline. He wouldn't do it. That dude's $1 million actor. He's not just going to jump on any movie, especially at his age. He can retire anytime he wants.
Like I said, I mean, this is his legacy. Star Wars, he closed out Star Wars beautifully. That was got to be the best death. I mean, sorry, spoilers if you haven't actually seen the last Star Wars movie, but I mean, I think everybody at this point has. But Han Solo being killed by Kylo Ren in that way is insane. But that was the best way he could have closed out that chapter of Star Wars in his lifetime.
Exactly.
Right?
And he was supposed to die, I think, in Empire Strikes Back. He was supposed to die. Yeah, he was supposed to die in some of the earlier movies, but he was such a fan favorite that they kept him.
Like somebody else we know, in The Walking Dead.
Oh, Daryl.
Daryl. Yeah, Daryl. Yeah, you killed Daryl, we'll riot.
Yeah,
that was the shirts that was putting out for a long period of time.
Yeah.
It's if you kill Dara Dixon, I will riot. I will literally burn this place to the ground.
Yeah, everyone's I'll never watch it again if you kill Daryl.
It was an Office Space moment when people started saying that. It was have you seen my stapler? I'm gonna burn this place down. That's what it reminded me of. Just this no, you can't do that.
I mean, I was really upset when they killed Glenn. I was just no.
You mean when they actually killed Glenn, or the first fake out?
Well,
killed Glenn?
I knew that one. I knew he was alive from that one. I started looking at it and I was telling everybody he's still alive. They're not going to take Glenn out like that.
That would be a terrible way to go.
Yeah, but when they smashed his head, when Negan smashed his head, I was like, oh my God.
He smashed it right in. Just
not
right
Glenn.
In.
Not Glenn. No. I will find you.
Speaking of The Walking Dead, I know as military guys, we talk about the end of the world a lot. Probably a lot more than we should, but we do. Hey, what would happen if zombies rose up today? Are you prepared? Am I prepared? I'm too fat to be prepared right now. Like, I like my food. I'm too fat and lazy at the moment. But I think I would have the necessary skills in order to survive. Because, like, when I'm properly motivated, I will run.
Yep. Yep, me too.
You know, what do you think you would do, like, at the end of the world? Like, if that was happening right now? Like, do you have a plan?
Oh, yeah, I have a go bag for one. So, you know, I would grab as much stuff as I can, you know, necessary things, food, water, clothes, guns, ammo, guns,
More guns.
My Lucille bat, my machetes, a couple slingshots, you know, whatever I can get, you know, pepper spray, you know, anything to protect myself. And then I would head down to San Antonio to my buddy's house. He lives out there on a ranch out in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And we would just defend it all. Defend it all till the end.
You know, I was gonna go back to that. You literally have a Lucille bat. Like, did you make a real one?
No, I bought it from this one company, and they specialize in making these Lucille bats.
Is it plastic or is it real?
No,
like,
it's a Louisville Slugger type of bat with actual sea wire wrapped around the top of it. And
nice.
And if you hit somebody with that thing, they will know they got hit.
Okay, so the question being, if like the apocalypse happened, right, and Antifa was a group, who do you think they would belong to in The Walking Dead?
They would probably belong to those. What's that group with the trash dwellers with all the women?
God, I can't remember what their names are.
I forget their name, but they lived in the garbage piles.
The garbage people?
Yeah, the garbage people. I think they're called the garbage people or something like that. I think that would be Antifa.
Like, they just all talk in like a collective monotone voice.
Yeah. You know, we all think alike.
We all do alike. How long do you think those types of a group would actually make it? Like, let's expand it a little bit. Like, why don't we say, how many alt-right and alt-left groups, these like extreme fringe groups, would actually make it in the end of the world?
Honestly, I don't think any of them will make it that far because they would end up eating themselves. It's happening right now. You know, these groups, you have, you know, the new right and the alt-right hating each other. You have the alt-left, Antifa, the liberals hating each other. So all these groups would end up it'd be a power struggle. You know, who needs to be in charge? Would it be Antifa that needs to be in charge? Or would it be Black Lives Matter that needs to be in charge? You know, and they would just end up killing each other off.
So you don't think, like, when it mattered, you don't think they would have the collective will to survive the apocalypse?
I mean, everyone would have the collective will at some point. But I think eventually, you know, it'd be a power struggle, man.
So you think to maintain the power structure, it would be impossible for them?
It would be impossible for them. Because, I mean, they all want power. I mean, when you get a collective group of people, you know, that aren't tied to any type of group like that, just like Rick's group, they survived all these years. Every other group that they went up against, they ended up dying off.
Right. I liked how Rick started out as a very democratic person, right? Like, he believed in, you know, the voice of everybody and the voting. And then all of a sudden, like, what was it, like season 2 or 3? He just goes, no, I'm the captain now.
Well, there has to be someone in charge, man. You can't just have, you know, this collective group of people and no one's making a decision. That's with any establishment. Someone has to be the voice, and someone has to be in charge per se.
Right. So, like, I guess that would be an interesting question is, like, when it comes to rebuilding a population like that. So say Rick and his group is able to, like, kill all the zombies, right? Like, how do you rebuild from there? Like, how do you bring society back and, like, civilization back? Because, like, literally, it's not really the end of the world. Like, when we usually talk about the end of the world, people say, oh, it's going to be the end of the world, you know, and everybody's going to die. And it's like, no, there will be people that survive. Mm-hmm. It will just be the end of this particular civilization.
Yes.
At the end of the world, things happen, and then they grow from that. You know, the Romans thought it was the end of the world for them, but it wasn't. I mean, other people existed and they survived, and then it created the Dark Ages, obviously, but then they came out of it, and we had the Renaissance and so on and so forth. So a lot of people say it's going to head in that direction. I tend to say yes and no, because some things aren't as bad as people like to make it out to be. But then at the same time, we have idiots that want to, you know, blow a lot of things up. So we'll see about that. That's for sure.
I think the hardest thing would, to rebuild a civilization is the trust factor. Their group would have so much trust with each other. Bringing other people in, knowing the past of other people you try to bring in, that'd be very hard to do. So right. I mean, they would have to have a serious vetting process. They would have to figure out everyone they brought in, how they would figure out where their mindset's at, how do they think, are they who they say they are. And that's how you start bringing people in. And then, everyone would have to have this collective way of thinking, even though I hate that term, that group thing. Collective. That group thing. Yeah. But at a time like that, in some aspects of life, you would have to have group thing,
Yeah, in order to survive together, you would, it's that trust. Like, I think guys like us, that had, served in the military have a better chance of actually being able to survive the apocalypse and then also come together at the same time and start a civilization, because we understand each other. We can build that trust.
And the thing with the military types, especially the true vets, I'm always going to say the true vets, because you have these vets out there that are, off the wall type of dudes that make
we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah, but you have the veteran community. One thing that we always respect is what someone was before they got out. So yeah. I mean, I can get a whole bunch of privates of mine, and even though we're all civilians, they would still respect the fact that I was a Sergeant First Class. It would still be that kind of that respect where they look to me for, guidance per se. And it happens today. I've been out the Army for a year, and they're still calling me. They're still asking me. They're still looking.
They still got your number.
Yeah, they still have my number. And I'm like, dude, I've been out the Army, a year, and I'm still getting, messages. I'm still getting calls. Hey, what should I do? What about this? And I'm just like,
what am I doing? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the same thing would travel over if the apocalypse happened and the zombie apocalypse happened and we had to rebuild. I think the veteran community would be one of the first communities to come together, especially I can talk about here in Austin. We would come together so quick. And then, of course, we would figure out, okay, we got to have a hierarchy. We got to have some type of, rank structure. That's the way we would say it. We would have a chain of command. They would be voted in. A vote's a vote. And those are going to be the people that speaks for the rest of us.
And I think you're right. Like, that would be the definite way to go. Like what you're talking about with people in their rank, like it's hard once you get used to calling them by their rank to stop doing that. Even like when you're a civilian. Like, yep. I know there's one officer that I know that I would still call him sir, because like saying his first name would just be weird at this point. It's like I've called you sir for a whole long time, and so like for me to say hey, what's up, and then use his first name, it would be like, no, that doesn't sound right. It's sir.
Yeah, and a lot of them still call me drill sergeant. I mean, if you look through my Facebook comments, sometimes they'll be like drill sergeant, drill sergeant. Like, dude, I ain't been a drill sergeant since 2013, man. But it's that I think it's that respect thing. That's why they do it.
I think I would stick with you for sure, because like we could definitely use that drill sergeanting skills to train some recruits once we got these like flabby civilians to come into our side.
Yep.
And you want to train.
And it's training, and it's also teaching, and coaching and mentoring. We did a lot of that stuff. So I think once you started bringing people in, they would have to go through some type of classes, and we would make it a requirement. You would have to go through these steps and these classes in order to stay a part of this community. If you don't pass, guess what? I'm sorry. You go through retraining. If you don't pass, you're on your own.
Out. Yeah.
And that would force people to assimilate, because that'd be the biggest thing, assimilation. And we're not talking about a dictatorship. Oh, I am the almighty. No, it's just assimilation. We would continue to be Americans. We would continue to utilize the Constitution. We would continue to respect the Constitution. We would never change that. And that's what would make our community different. Now you get a whole bunch of civilians out there, and I'm not going to say all of them. They would start their little groups, and we have to create a new constitution, and we have to reinvent the wheel.
Reinvent the wheel, yeah.
No. Us vets will be like, no, we already have the founding document right here. We're going to continue to use this founding document.
This document's fine. Like, it works just fine.
For this many years.
It's just people adding on to these other laws that made it all fucked up.
Yep. And the Constitution will be no interpretation. What it says is what it means, period.
I agree with that. I think even in the end of the world, like keeping a hold of the Constitution would be one of the most important things to rebuild anyway, like to build off of, because we could definitely rebuild and it would be just fine. Right. Yep. We just start. It's 1776 all over again. We're going to start over.
Yeah, we're going to start all over. And the founding fathers, I mean, we wouldn't create new founding fathers. Like I said, we wouldn't get rid of our history. We would just build it back up. You know, like we said earlier, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to bring our history, our known history, back into the fold. These are our founding fathers. This is the Constitution. This is the Bill of Rights. These are the guys. And we're going to continue to teach that. And push.
Like, history is important. We need to, we need to continue on that history that has been so rich and welcoming to us.
And you would see that community thrive. And I said we would build a wall. We would build a great, beautiful wall. It'd be so beautiful. It'd be so beautiful.
And we'll get the other groups to pay for it.
Yeah, we'll get the other groups to pay for it. And if they want to get upset about our wall, it just got 10 feet higher.
Right. I think that's good. Like, I have hope that if the end of the world happened, that the community, like the veteran community, especially here in Austin and everywhere else, would come together and we would rebuild this thing.
And just think about the defense. You're going to have you're going to have all these military vehicles abandoned, just sitting around. Who are going to be the guys that know how to use that stuff?
Right.
It's going to be the veteran community.
Especially like, Humvees are pretty easy, but like some of the old, the newer ones, that to actually take some skill to use, like that's going to be a different story. Yeah.
The Bradleys, the tanks, the Apache, the helicopters, the planes. I mean, all that stuff. We're just going to have this, this melting pot of vets are going to be like, yeah, I know how to fly a plane. Oh, I know how to fly a helicopter.
Totally do that.
And then
the one thing I never thought about is like, what about conductors? Like, we never talk about trains in the apocalypse. You would think that would be one of the best modes of like getting transportation and goods and services after like the shit goes down, because like trains are really hard to stop once they get going.
The only bad thing about a train is that you're going to have these rogue groups out there ready to ambush, rail lines. So
put 50 cals on the tray cars. What are you talking about?
But if they line the tracks up with explosives and they're like, oh, there's a train coming. Boom, and they throw it off the track.
But then they would ruin it for themselves, because then they can't actually like use it anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, that would be stupid.
We would be so freaking tactical. We would send out forward patrols. We would send scouts out. You're gonna push forward and you're gonna scout out. You're gonna do IED sweeps. We'll be looking at the truck. We're gonna do what we do best. So it'd be very hard to stop us.
Which would be great. Like, I think if that happened, all these other like groups could just like eat a bag of dicks. Like, we're gonna take over this thing.
A big bowl of them.
Right. And that comes to kind of coming into the next segment is kind of important, because like the veteran community is such an ingrained thing in us. Like, we respect each other a hell of a lot, and it doesn't matter what color you are, where you came from. Like, you're one of us. Like, even if as us grunts, we would say it's like, even if you were Pogues, you were still one of us.
Exactly. Like, I mean, we would give you a hard time because you're a Pogue and you're a dude, but it's okay.
But you're still one of us. Like, you still belong to our group.
And one thing I notice is that in the military, especially Marines and Army, man, we used to give each other a hard time and who's the best and da 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 da. But once we're out, man, we really don't even talk like that anymore. We just have one thing in common now. We're just all vets. Yeah, we might jab at each other every once in a while, because you guys like eating crayons and stuff. I don't know why you guys like that, but they must
Marines and crayons, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, we like our flavors.
I know.
Everyone's got one. Blueberry's mine. Blue crayons and blueberries. That's what we do. That's okay. You got all the Cav Scouts and some of the other tanker guys you can make fun of.
Speaking about crown eaters, what's up with these Marines, man?
Oh God, every time. Like, so for this week's Blue Falcon Award, we are going to talk about the former Marine Sergeant Dylan Ulysses Harper, who was in the headlines this week for being the leader of the white nationalist group of Vanguard America. So thanks for that, for Blue Falconing and the rest of us Marines. Look, I am no way or fashion a white supremacist. I'm white, but I'm not a white supremacist. And anybody that says otherwise is a fucking idiot. And this guy ruins it for the rest of us. He ruins what being a Marine is about. A lot of my friends come from all kinds of different backgrounds, all good Marines. And this guy no. I don't even want to consider this guy a Marine. I hate that they use his name in headline as a Marine. And it just ruins it.
And that's the thing that fucking kills me, man. Every time a former service member does something bad, they always have to tie, the tagline up, former vet. Why? What the hell does him being a vet have to do with him being an asshole? And I've never understood that. The same with the guy in Dallas. Vet, former vet. What the hell does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, he was a former vet that decided to go nuts and kill 6 cops. Like, yeah. As soon as they said he was an Army Reservist, it's like, fuck, great, now another one.
And right? I have a theory behind that. And my theory is the reason they always try to tie vet to everything, because, the media and civilians all think we're these PTSD fueled freaking killing machines, right? They think at any moment in time, we're just going to go off the deep end and go postal on everybody. So when which is funny because that term comes from like a dude at a post office going in and shooting everybody. It was probably a vet. It was probably a Vietnam vet. No, I'm kidding.
He was a Vietnam.
But they always tie that term vet. And I think, in the civilian community, they kind of put us on a pedestal. Not everyone, but the majority of Americans kind of, they put us on this type of pedestal as like we are these great Americans who only doing 1% of Americans wanted to do. So when a vet does something bad, the media will push that narrative in order to make the veteran community look bad and to put fear in the hearts of people when it comes to vets and dealing with vets.
And it sucks. And guys like this don't help, because and I gotta make fun of the guy because he was a informational security technician in 0681. He was a pogue.
You're
being a white nationalist is like,
and no one likes you,
right?
No one likes you, dude.
Nobody likes you. No, I do not recognize you as being a Marine. You should be stripped of your status as being a Marine.
Yep.
And anybody that I just can't do that. I can't defend him in any way. Like, even though he's a Marine, I can't. I just can't. And because of that, like, you get the Blue Falcon for that. You screw the rest of us over. Me and you included. And everybody else, regardless of where they served, you screw the rest of us over when you do stupid stuff like this.
And Chesty Pullers, he's freaking ashamed of you. And if he was here right now, he would kick you in your fucking dick.
He's rolling in his grave, and then also, Mattis probably wants to kick you in the nuts. I hope so. I genuinely hope he wants to kick this guy in the nuts for bringing shame and dishonor to the Marine Corps.
General Mattis sent him a paper mache of a knife hand, to his mailbox.
He's going all Godfather with it. He sends him like a knife hand in his bed.
It goes from General Mattis. What's in the box?
Oh God! What's in the box?
What's in the box? Don't open it.
Don't do it, man.
Don't do it.
Like, General Mattis is just staring a hole through your head right now. Just so you know, like, wherever you are, I hope you can't sleep at night because General Mattis is coming for you. Like,
he's gonna find you.
He's totally going Chuck Norris on that.
Yeah,
all right?
He will find you. But
our Lord and Savior General Mattis is going to come for you.
Yeah, I'm just tired of these assholes, man. These rogue veterans out there who take their veteran status and use it in a way that makes the rest of us true veterans look bad. That just drives me up the wall, man. They use it as a way of getting some type of sympathy. I'm a former Marine. Hear me roar. Look at me. And all these, these young white nationalists are following him like, oh, he's a Marine. Oh, yeah. And,
he's so cool.
He's so cool. We got a Marine leader. No, he's a dick bag.
Pogue. He's a fucking pogue.
And he's a pogue.
Like, screw that guy. Honestly, just screw that guy entirely. And you know what? It just hurts. It really does, because of all the guys that I've known and that died in our deployments, to have some guy like this that, is this kind of asshole existing and then making us look bad and them look bad for their service. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And please, media, stop giving the guys that do sick things like this the title of veteran. No one needs to know that. Who cares? Has nothing to do with the heinous thing that individual did.
No, just leave it out. Like, do us a favor and leave it out. Like, stop putting former and whatever the hell comes next in the title. Like, you put it in the headline, for God's sakes. Like, don't do that. Just quit it. It has nothing to do with it. If they're out of the service, then it doesn't matter. Like, leave it out. They do not belong to us anymore.
We disavow them.
We are done with them entirely. But anyway, that concludes this episode of the Hooch. I want to thank everybody for coming in and listening to us, rant about different things today, especially this particular topic of, military members, shaming the rest of us. And I hope you find this guy and give him a swift kick in the nuts. And Michael, any final words for our listeners?
Oh, just make sure you guys are out there setting freaking standards and be real Americans. We have some strange times, some hard times coming up. And just stay true to the country.
Be ready. We'll call on you one of these days, and just,
Indeed.
Watch out for your fellow veteran. Get their six, man.
Yep. America.
We'll see.